Hello, everyone. How's it going? It is MSP Community Live, and it is me, just me. We got Henry and Matt are traveling, so I'm gonna, do the best here to rant about sports and talk about things, and we'll see. Maybe we can bring in some people from the community to help. I don't know. Do we have anyone that can hop in and help here? Maybe. Here we go. We got two people. We have the always wonderful Amanda, and we have Jared joining us today. Jared, how's it going?
It's going great. I'm noticing some interesting glare here on my screen, so I'll have to figure that out at some point today. But yeah, going very well. Thanks. How are you doing?
Doing fantastic. It's like super drizzly and foggy here, so I had a good morning run, and it's a good way to start the day. So I'm ready to go.
Does drizzle
Excellent.
and fog make a morning run good?
Yeah, it's like nice and cool. I mean, it got a little windy towards the end, but like it looks cool. Looks like you're running through like zombie fog, and it's just nice and refreshing a little bit. Like if it's not super cold, running in the rain is like a spiritual experience, especially when you're like 2 miles in. Like I love it. It is the best, but
I'll
it
take
gets a
your word
little
for it.
cold and it's
I'll
not great.
say, and I'm with you. There, I'm not sure there's anything that makes that. Well, I take that back. I joke that I'm part Labrador, so give me a ball to chase and I'll chase it for hours. But you want me to run for the sake of running? I'll tell you where to
No,
stick it. It's
no.
just not going to happen.
I'll walk the city for 8 hours straight, looking at stuff, wandering into the galleries, whatever. But if you ask me to do that at a quick pace where there wasn't some incentive to do it, nah, I'm good. Also,
What
the
what is the
zombie thing was interesting though, because you said like it looked like a zombie apocalypse. Like I think that is the way that I would run.
I mean, it adds the motivation. When I first started running, there's like a 5K program called like Run Zombies or something. It's like a audiobook that plays in your head. So like it's this story of like zombies, and then you are like the supply person, and you have to like run between. So it's like story, and then it's like, okay, we need you to run to this base. So you are running, right? And like you'll hear like zombie sounds in your headphones and stuff, and you have to like increase your pace or you get caught. I was fine until like one of the episodes there was like kids involved, and like I ran at night, and I was like, nope, I'm gonna find
Yeah,
something else to listen to. But it
That
was
sounds like
pretty
a
cool.
nightmare.
you had me at a hard note before you got to when you just said running for the sake of running. So if you have to if you have to contrive a reason to like get out and jog, it's like I said, give me a ball to chase, I'll chase it for hours. But no, I'm just
Where's
sorry.
I've
where's
said
Matt?
no.
Damn
We'll
it,
bring a ball to the next conference that Jared's going to be at and see how it works out.
here we go.
No
Uh,
for disagrees with
Happy
you.
to screenshot, man.
yes. So, Jared, why don't you give us a quick intro here if people don't know who you are, which you should, because Jared is awesome. But give us a quick intro.
I'm like mediocre at best, or as the kids say, mid. I think is the right answer. Yeah, so I'm Jared Casner. I'm the co-founder of Blacksmith InfoSec. My co-founder Mike and I also host a podcast called Get Nifty, where we talk about compliance and security and answer real questions from MSPs. Um, but yeah, I've been in software for 25 years now. I'm in San Francisco I've been here for about 15 years now, running um, health tech and fintech companies, and then pivoted to the channel about well, I entered the channel 2 years ago, but started Blacksmith about 2.5 years ago. And I got to know Josh and Amanda and a bunch of other folks through that, and I felt like I came home when I entered the channel. You guys are awesome.
We try.
It is, yeah, it is. It is a fantastic part. I mean, I'll go. I'm going to do a self plug a little bit here. If you missed it on Wednesday, I did launch another show on the MMN channel called The Other Side, where I dive into that community aspect of it. So we had Ray Orsini on, and the whole point of it is you get one sentence to talk about what you do for work, and the rest of it is just diving into hobbies, personal goals, desert islands, some questions and stuff. You just really get to know the person a little bit better, because again, that is like it's our favorite part about the channel is the community that's built and the people that are in it. And I just want everyone to get to know each other a little bit better and build that. So if you missed it, I can't recommend it enough. Go check it out. And Amanda will be our next guest in 2 Wednesdays. So exciting stuff.
I don't know if you really do want to get to know me though.
I mean, it's too late. I already do, but you know.
Do you? I know. I'm just kidding.
No, you know.
Know you, Amanda. Share a cab with you in a dark, or be in a dark alley with you. I don't know, but
That magician, he's gonna get mileage forever on that story.
oh, yeah.
That's great to say it without context. See, sometimes you want to explain a story and let somebody in, and sometimes you just let it be because somebody's gonna be like, "What in the hell were you talking about?" And that just is an opener for a conversation later.
Yeah, it's
That's
like
exactly.
you save it for the two truths and a lie game. You know, it's like being technically correct is the best part of correct. So it's all you give.
Yeah.
Well, unless you guys want to talk about sports, we can dive into our stories here. So let's go right in here. Our first story of the week. Huntress 2026 report just dropped, and Artera is by far the most abused RMM to deploy ransomware. For more than 50% of malicious activity in Artera leading to ransomware, this RMM is by far the most abused RMM to deploy ransomware, only followed by AnyDesk and 5x the score of Screen Connect, 10% of malicious activity leading to ransomware. This has been the case for years now. This company offers trials with just an email. They won't verify who you are or require any payment to open a trial. They know about this. They've been exposed to many times on the sub for it, yet here we are. So I want to make a disclaimer before we go into it. Here at MSP Community Live, we are, we don't really name drop, vendors or anything. We are very agnostic, and this story is not about Artera, and we're not going to be beating anyone up on it. However, I thought it would be a good conversation as to, should we be doing that? Is Artera at fault, or is this kind of being blown out of proportion here?
I think this is something where you can look at the behavior and you can learn from it. And I mean, in this case here, Artera is its own company and they can make their decisions for what they want to do. And the report just points out what it is that they're doing and how it's being abused, right? Ultimately, it's the threat actors that are utilizing that tool, right? We all have this ecosystem that we live in. And, we would love for everybody to do things the right way or the way that we consider the right way. But to be honest with you, people are always going to find a way around it eventually. So maybe Artera said we're not going to put the money to that. I don't know. It's not really about them. I think that these are the situations where we get to decide with our dollars as MSPs where we go with, and going with a company that pays attention to good practices is more important to me. But for somebody else, the free version of that might be, more cost effective for them, and that's more important to them in their building. I think that we all get to make those decisions. That's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah, there's this unique tension in the channel about how easy is it to get up and running. We get some vendors that get absolutely pilloried for long terms and locking people in and things like that. And then you get other companies like Artera here. And again, I'm not trying to I actually, in some ways, think it's a really good thing that they are offering free trials and no credit card required, right? It makes it easy for people to get in there and try it out. At the end of the day, somebody still had to install that agent on their machine, and so it's falling for the fish. Is it Artera that's the problem? I don't know. Maybe it's the security awareness training at the end client that's at fault, because they're still falling for the fishes that are letting a threat actor in with an RMM. It wouldn't matter whether it was Artera or somebody else. It's still allowing somebody to install an agent on their machine that they don't trust or that they shouldn't be trusting, and allowing that behavior. So I don't know. It's Artera trying to do the right thing, I think, for the community, by making it easy for somebody to get up and running and not putting those minimums in place to get started.
Let's be real for 1 second, though. Let's just do the whatever. Threat actors are some of the people who are involved in criminals, are some of the most cutting edge technology people. They are well aware of how AI works. They're utilizing AI in other areas of what they're doing. If they wanted to make an RMM, they could make an RMM very quickly to do the same thing. The reason why they're using it is because it's very easy. It's a known name. It's something that people recognize, so they're less likely to be suspicious about it versus some random whatever. All they're doing is a version of outsourcing. And I think there's a business case for studying what they did and learning from it from that perspective as well. But I think honestly, to blame the company for making those things access, like when I see these kinds of posts, I feel like sometimes we get very sanctimonious in this industry, and it's a dangerous road to go down, because you better make sure that you are doing everything perfectly when you start calling out things like that for other people. I think we all want to be better. We all learn from each other the best when we compare notes and we see what we can do, and then we make decisions. Like I know I've made decisions in the MSP which a client has signed off on that somebody else would be like, I would just fire the client. And I'm like, yeah, but I want them to be supported, right? So like the lesson in this to me, which is why I think you really want to talk about it, Josh, is like how we behave in these scenarios is all decided on our level of acceptable risk.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's just it. Like, if you talk about like whatever tooling, I mean, hell, mouse and keyboards are used in a bunch of ransomware events too. So are we just going to ban those? Like, to Jared's point, there is a decision over like, I mean, yes, it can be abused because the speed to deployment is very quick and there's no sign up. But on the other side is anybody who's a security practitioner knows that you layer security. So, there's things like, why was it able to be installed in the first place with admin rights? I mean, that's another argument that we can have, but also detection capabilities. It is a legitimate tool, however, it is doing things like, additional RMM tools should be something that you can, trigger on or look for when you're doing reviews. There's a lot of other things in place other than just relying on an EDR, MDR to detect that, right? And it's going after the company, I just don't think is the right move.
No, I mean, you could use it to inform when you're doing your audits and stuff. You could make it your potential clients aware that, hey, this is something that can be abused. We want to make sure that your current provider is the one who's actually utilizing it. And if not, we should probably move a little more quickly. But I mean, that's true for any RMM. The power that you give an RMM is incredible. So you really need to make sure that it is something that's being acted by anybody. But yes, go ahead, Jared. I don't want to.
No, you're. I want to touch on something that you said, Amanda, that Atera is a household name. I mean, I would say within the MSP community, within IT professionals, Atera might be a household name, but I would argue that 0% of doctors who are using this, like the end clients who are installing this, have no idea what RMM. They couldn't even tell you what an RMM is. They just know that their IT person tells them to install something, and they couldn't tell you. In the vast majority of them, we don't know which RMM is being used. There's no such thing as a household name in the RMM space for the end clients. It's the IT professionals that know what the RMMs are. And so I think we sometimes get really wrapped up in how could somebody not know about pick the RMM of choice? The reality is the end users, they just know, trusted professional is telling me to install a thing, I'm going to go and install the thing. Whether they should be trusting that person or whether they're subject to a phishing email, at the end of the day, it's a thing that they think they're supposed to be installing because somebody that they think is trustworthy is telling them to go install it. And so, again, I don't know that it's honestly not a marketing problem for any of the RMM companies either, because their target audience is not the end client. I mean, and I'm going to plead ignorance here also, right? I am not and have never been an MSP. How often are you selling your stack to your clients, or are you selling your services?
So I will say that what you are saying is the correct way, and I know where you're going when you're asking this. Obviously, Josh and I are not going to say we're selling our stack. However, I will say I have come to know many MSPs that actually do sell their stack. They do talk about that specifically, and the reason why I'd mentioned it was because they'll point to, look at this provider, we're trusted providers by them, and therefore you should trust us. They utilize the stack as like validation of who they are, because they're partnered with these people. So that's the only area that I'd be a little bit concerned in. But again, not all MSPs are built the same, and the ones that go to the conferences are very different than the ones out there in the wild.
Yeah, well, to Jared's point though too is like the end client's not gonna. It doesn't matter if you're using the most popular one. That is super hard to sign up for. It's a tool. It's on there, and if Atera tomorrow decides that they're not going to allow these trials anymore, like there's other ones out there. There's still ways to abuse it. It's not just gonna go away overnight. Like it might be a little bit harder, but it's not gonna change much, right? So
you change your behavior. You can't change your software. You change your behavior. You change your company's operating procedures, all of it. But you can't change other people.
Well, it is a fantastic segue into our next story here. Speaking about changing behavior and fixing operations, how the hell do you fix documentation? We've all heard about this. We've all seen it. Let's imagine an unfortunately real situation. You have around 100 clients ranging from 5 endpoints to 500 endpoints. Every client has its own up-to-date or outdated network setup. Every client has his own tools, list of software, servers, cloud applications, etc. You have pretty much no documentation and no good tools for actually documenting this other than some Excel sheets where people have free will and can, but they don't document however to their liking. This is years and years of neglected work and priorities catching up. I fully believe this is achievable, and I know this is not something you fix overnight or something that once done will be ideal forever. This seems like multiple processes need to be created so everyone will be on the same page. But how do you create something that everyone could be on the same page with? I know this is more or less a management issue, but what do I do here? So Amanda's she's done. Like, head desk, face palm,
If I could have slammed my face on my desk, I would have.
So, I mean, this is, an employee seeing this, and they might not have the power to make the changes that are needed to be made, right? So put yourself in these shoes. What is your next steps here? What can we do in this situation?
I'm going to let everybody else speak first because I know the answer to this question, and I don't want to be Hermione in this situation.
I actually wanted Hermione because my background is a little bit different than yours, and so I have some thoughts, but they may not apply necessarily to the MSP community. So
let's hear the different thoughts.
All right, go be all right, Ron Weasley. Let's go.
I'll go be okay. I'm the redheaded stepchild. He's
not a stepchild. Come on.
He's not a stepchild. He's a true Weasley. The red hair gives it away. All right, fair enough. All right, so. Look, lack of documentation or outdated documentation is something that happens at almost every startup in existence because it's really difficult to keep documentation up to date. And so one of the things that we are starting to move towards as an industry is making the documentation be part of the pull request, part of the code change. And so whether you're using PyDoc or JSDoc or whatever, right, the Java Doc, all these languages now have frameworks built into them or easily bolted on, allow you to document the API endpoint in parallel. And that way, part of your CI/CD process is publishing the new API documentation. So at least the API documentation stays up to date. And then it becomes a problem of the developer and the reviewer making sure that, the endpoint changed. Let's make sure that the documentation for that changed also. And so it sort of makes that into the process. I've seen some really cool stuff lately on all the AI chatter of using AI to do a lot of this automatically for you, and again, building that into the CI/CD process, which again makes a ton of sense if you are working in software where there's a commit associated with every change, right? You're in MSP where you might be doing a one-off ticket or seeing the same one-off ticket over and over again. This is where, Amanda, I'd love to hear your thoughts because you're living that world. It's the service space is a little bit different than the software space.
I mean, I live it on both sides of the world, but I'll let Josh go first.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let me tell you what I think we should do. You bring the hammer down. You guys all messed up, right? You got some tech debt, so everyone's gonna be working overtime. You're gonna be fixing this nonstop. Like this is what you're doing. You're putting in the extra hours, and everyone is just gonna fix the documentation all at once until it's done, right? It sucks, but you got to go through it. So you marathon it, you power through it, and then it's done. And then now that it's done, you just kind of keep it up, right? So that's like you're going to be working, overtime the next couple of weeks until you get this done. I don't think Amanda agrees with that.
If I thought it was professional and I wouldn't get in trouble, I would give you the finger live on camera right now. I knew when we were looking at these topics, I knew I was going to rage at one point. And documentation is one of those areas in which I rage. In much of the things that you deal with in an MSP, you need to look at it like you have this, those balances that have like multiple platforms, and you want to get them to all the right place. It is not one thing. Yes, actually, Josh, you will have to have a sprint, and it's not everyone that should do it. It's the smartest person in documentation that should do it, the one with the most discernment that should go through and say, this is garbage, this is shit, this one's great, this person's great at doing documentation, and just literally gut as much as you can, keeping in mind that most of the documentation systems that exist have a way to, go back and get documents that might actually be necessary if you made the wrong move. And you should be backing up your documentation system. Don't even get me started on that. But you need to get to a base level. right? And then you need to agree on who the hell is allowed to make documentation. Because let's be real, not everybody at an MSP should be allowed free reign to just publish what it is that they think is right. Because how one person will describe something is very different than how somebody else will. They might miss steps that are, maybe they would assume that somebody already knows how to do that item. Sometimes people get so granular that they will even show a login page for everything that they do just to make sure that you know what the login page looks like, which is completely unnecessary. We're all in IT and we know what a login page looks like. So, like, I think we need to be real about who's able to do it. Now, do I believe that none of your technicians should ever have to make documentation if they're bad at it? No, I never believe that anybody should not learn to grow and better who they are. I just think we have to have guardrails. Personally, the reason why I slam my head down on the table is because I hit this problem myself. I do not judge people for these problems because I understand where they came from. You're doing the best you can as you scale your MSP to put these things in place and do what you're told out there in the industry, which is document everything, right? And you don't want to discourage people from that. You want to encourage them to do that. But how do you do that and maintain a source of truth when you can't guarantee? It's like the same problem that fast food chains had to come up with in terms of making sure they could guarantee from location to location it would be the same. So you have to get precise. So I care a lot about the structure of a document. I care less now who makes it. I want them all to make it, but they're trained from day one on how to make a document. Part of their onboarding training into B4 is this is what our documentation system looks like. This is how you prepare documents. This is the naming scheme so that somebody can search what it is that you're looking for and know exactly how to put that search in so that they're going to get the results that are necessary, because the search is a whole nother ball of wax. And then, from there, anything that's client related, so like updates to how clients do things, solves, to Jared's point, when you see patterns and tickets, anyone is allowed to add to that documentation because it's very simplistic and it's not so bad. It's more important to have speed in those areas to make sure that other people are able to access that documentation quickly. But when we talk about processes, when we talk about how-tos, when we're saying this is how we expect it to be done, I need those to go through a review process. And that's exactly what we do. We have like a roadmap that exists on our PSA. The documents get submitted, they go through QA. And then if they pass QA and everybody did a good job and they do a good job enough times, then they can direct publish to the documentation system. But without going through that QA process ahead of time, it's not happening. And it's a form of change control too. Like, I just don't like, I think I want to give the example, and I've said this before on this podcast and other talks that I gave. When we went back and took back our documentation system, there was like 11 different how-tos on how to install Windows 10. And they were all made by the same person, and which is like mind-blowing to me because I paid that same person to write that documentation that many times. Like, it's an investment, but it should be invested wisely. You should make sure that it's done properly, and then your investment is not wasted. Soapbox done.
Yeah. So I will.
The only thing I would add on to that, which is the incredible right way, and hopefully you picked up I was being facetious and broke the barrel a little bit, is, like, obviously as you're building those things up, and making sure that prior to, so you're not dealing with outdated processes. So we have the same thing, a documented document. Here's what, SOP, work instruction, different things, and go through the quality board, all of that, but also have an expiration date on those. So it comes and says, hey, this is 6 days, please update. Also, it's built into all of our projects. So if we have a project where we're doing a network refresh, a line item on there is update document, editing the current one, whatever it is. But it takes a while to get there. But again, just like everything, you have to have a foundation and then align people to that and go through pretty much. I mean, Amanda said it, exactly of how it should be. So, Jared, to finish us off here.
There's a question in the chat I want to make sure we get to. I just want to answer it. So to deal with the hierarchy within any documentation, whether it be Hoodoo or otherwise, you have two choices. You could either make yourself a client and then have everything be under your client, or you can keep client documentation solely in theirs and then make sure that anything that lives within your like regular side of the house is only stuff that's internal. It is not one way is better than the other. You just have to decide and stick to it.
And so, Amanda, thank you for that. But also, I'll just put one little asterisk on something that you said here, and it comes from actually from a different thread in r/MSP that I saw this morning, which was to the effect of, hey, the fishers are getting better about simulating the Microsoft login page. We've had 4 staff get popped internally or fall for a fish internally because of that default Microsoft landing page getting spoofed. And one of the suggestions that I thought was really wise was to customize the login page, because you have that ability to create the custom login page, which works great if you are enforcing SSO everywhere, or to the extent that you're not having to pay SSO tax, because that's a whole separate soapbox topic for another day. But I do think there is sometimes value in putting, even for the IT professionals, putting the screenshots of the login page into your documentation, because there are times where you can't enforce SSO, or you do have some sort of non-standard login page that you want to make sure they understand that, hey, when I go to this, I should see, I've white labeled this particular instance, and so I should see my logo, not the default logo. And if I see the default logo, guess what? I'm probably getting fished or something like that. And so
not a terrible point. I will say this though, my rant came from somebody who told me that I needed to tell them how to log into Active Directory.
Yeah, it is something that to like.
Yeah, Jared, that's the right answer.
Okay, I stand corrected. I retract my.
But you do make a valid point from a security perspective. Yeah.
So first off, I mean, it is a good point, but you can still copy that CSS. It's not as easy, but it is possible to do. But again, you're again putting another layer that makes it a little bit harder for the people who aren't taking that extra effort. But yes, to Amanda's point, I know we need to move on to the next story here, but that is something that does come up over like, okay, cool, you have this culture where you document everything. Everything is an SOP, but like at some point you can't get like super granular. You still have to be a tech. Like if you're saying log into whatever, like and maybe that's another conversation of like where you draw that line. Because I think that could be an interesting debate, but we'll save that for another day. And let's
find a topic that aligns, and I'll go off.
Yeah. All right. Well, so we're going to take Jared's advice here a little bit, and we got to get our documentation in, and we're going to implement some AI. But why stop at documentation? Hell, let's just like do it for network administration. So. In this story, my boss thinks that AI is going to take over IT in a few years, and we're going to fall behind if we don't and start implementing it now. He's also made pitches to clients stating we can use it to automate jobs and cut down on headcount. The assumption is that we will have AI network administrators in the near future or something close to it. Personally, I don't think tech is trustworthy. It makes too many mistakes and isn't suited for managing IT infrastructure. What do you all think? We have 203 comments on this one, so it got a little spicy. But are you following your boss into battle on this?
No. So I sat on a panel at a conference a couple weeks ago, and somebody asked about, as an MSP, should I be building or buying technology? And I said, oh, just vibe code everything. And I saw every single person in the room, and I was being totally facetious, but every single MSP in the room was, oh, vibe code everything, right? So no, the answer is not vibe code all the things. The answer is not AI all the things. AI absolutely has a place there. The future includes AI. So I want to be very clear that I'm actually very bullish on AI, but I'm very bearish on AI replacing anybody in the next 6 months, and probably even a lot longer than that. There is still, as the OP on that pointed out, there is still a lot of room for mistakes. And even when it gets things 85, 90, 95% right, being able to know the difference and apply that level of intelligence on top of that to, like, you just still have to have a human in the loop on this stuff. I'm firmly convinced of that.
Amanda's like frozen and
no, I can't remember. Can I swear? Can I not swear?
Yeah. I mean, I
want to quote the eloquent and amazing idol of mine, the lovely Cardi B. And I'd like to say her line of "I'm a boss, you're a worker, bitch" is the best way to look at AI. We need to be the bosses of everything it does. We need to get very finite data and details in what it does, and that's when it works best. You could have it do one specific thing in networking and give it very stringent parameters, and then you could trust it and then get feedback on whether it's done. But to imagine it doing the entire job end to end, I mean, did we not watch all these movies? I mean, movies are not real life, but these movies that like tell us how this goes, you need the human in the loop. The human is the check and balance. The human is the boss, and it should be the boss. It should always be the boss. It does not, how I love that that's the quote that came out. It does not mean, it does not mean that, like we are going to cut headcount. Cutting headcount is the best way to make sure that the people who are involved in training the AI make it mess up. So if you want to lose money, I mean, let's just throw money at something, throw it at me, send me money. I don't care. Like if you want to waste your money, go ahead. Be smart and strategic. People who own businesses need to be better at being strategic in the face of AI, because if you're not and you get lazy about it, you're the one who's actually going to be left behind.
Well, it lends itself, being in the owner level, or you have that kind of entrepreneurship, like you have an idea, right? Like, and you can replace AI with apps or websites, and they came out like, oh, I got this perfect idea for an app. It's going to change the game. It can do all of these things. So I know AI is a little bit different, but you can't just go off and say that without the whole development behind it, right? Like if you have an idea, in order to make it a reality, you need a minimum viable product. You need a POC. You need some sort of research and development on that, figuring out what the roadmap is going to be, like how you're going to make it, like what is your, profit and loss, your market, like all of the whole go to market thing needs to be done before you should start telling people this whole,
to your point, this person's put in the chat about this company that says they can create a guest network and push Wi-Fi to all APs, and then they're claiming they're using AI to do these things. So like, great. I'm not going to shit on that company because I don't know if it's true or not what they're doing. We as consumers, we as business owners, as people leaders, as whatever, need to get really good at critically thinking through all the questions, to Josh's point that he just made, all those things, and get really knowledgeable, back to basics about how things should work, so that when we walk into these situations and evaluate products that have AI, we understand how to ask the right questions to ascertain the security level, the longevity and sustainability of the product.
Yep. Yeah, no, I think you both are hitting the nail spot on, right? You have to think about the inputs and like really deeply consider. It's a little bit like threat modeling, right? You think about the inputs and then evaluate the outputs, right? It's great to have the AI doing a bunch of stuff in the middle, but thinking about the prompt and putting some time in up front will save you a lot of heartache in the end. And then looking at the results before you hit apply. If you're spitting out a PowerShell script, for example, make sure you review that before you just run it, right? You're not going to blindly trust and run that script. It's the same thing with any of this, right? I think one of the beautiful things about AI is that it's non-deterministic, meaning you put the same prompt in and you're going to get a slightly different response every time, because it's based on probabilistic models, right? There's a probability that is associated with each of these things. And when you have a non-deterministic system, but you need a deterministic output, right? You need to make sure that the AP, in this case, gets the right guest Wi-Fi SSID pushed every single time, and configuration pushed exactly the same every single time. That's a deterministic output. It's same input produces the same output every single time. If you have any level of non-determinism in there, where sometimes it's going to work, and even if it's 98% of the time it works and 2% of the time it doesn't, and you don't understand why it's not working, now you have a huge effort to go and troubleshoot after the fact when something is broken, as opposed to putting the human in the loop where it's just like, yep, that looks good. You're going to do 98% of the work, but you just have the human almost becoming the dodo bird. I don't know if you remember the Simpsons episode where he puts the little bobbing bird to yes on the reactor, right? It's the same idea here. The human doesn't need to be quite that mindless, right? The human can actually provide some level of, ooh, hey, hang on a second, this was a little bit different than I was expecting. Let me make sure it's right and apply some level of intelligence there.
Yeah, what if he had a camera in that room that was watching, and then every time it hit it, he could also like audibly hear if there was like the alarm or whatever that was going off. Then you could turn around and you can like intercept what's going on, right? I feel like that's why you'll hear, I think I've heard two terms at Write a Boom that I really liked. There was human in the loop and then human at the helm. And I think both apply in different ways to, how we should be considering how to utilize AI. You could have blog or this vlog or whatever you want to call this call, have AI summarize it and create a blog post of it, right? But you're going to want to verify it in the middle. And it could be an email that comes to you. And as long as you reply to the email good, it then goes on and automatically publishes it. It's still automation. It's still AI. It's still way more efficient, but you've had that double check to make sure that you're okay with what's happening. It's very simple, but then it means that you take a really skilled worker and you can 10x, 50x, whatever they're doing. So I really think that, especially with population decline, this should not be a conversation of headcount. This should be a conversation of we're losing talent and we need to make the talent we have more efficient. And we need to plan for how we're going to grow the next round of talent. That takes time. Time costs money. If we can save time through AI, we can utilize the staff that we have to train people properly to do the next round of the future.
Well, yeah, it's force multiplier. I mean, going back to the business, looking at what's our single like our if we look at cost of goods, our highest cost of goods in the MSP is most likely labor, right? So you can't not necessarily reducing it isn't the right, but using what you're paying for labor and getting more out of it is the effective way. So, well, we kind of touched on, going off of what Jared said with the little birdie hitting the X or anything like that. So let's kind of talk about our next story, and maybe we can use AI to help us here. Is this really just normal work, or is it a sign something deeper needs to change? I'm genuinely starting to believe that a huge portion of IT work is completely avoidable. Not because users are bad or IT is lazy, but because most of our time is spent dealing with issues that shouldn't exist in the first place. Think about it. How many tickets do you handle that come from outdated systems, missed updates, poor visibility, or lack of clear processes? Password resets, reoccurring crashes, device running out of space, machines that suddenly stop working even though the warning signs were there for weeks. What frustrates me is not cutting-edge engineering or deep troubleshooting. It's just repetitive cleanup caused by environments that aren't being managed proactively. And yet this is where the majority of our time goes. We keep calling this the job, but at some point, doesn't it become a failure of how our IT operations are set up? The same problems keep coming back month after month. It sounds like we should just have AI deal with all of this. I don't know. What do you guys think?
That's you interjecting that just to make me rage, Josh.
Oh, there's nothing I look forward more. It's the best. I love you, Amanda.
One day I will get back at you. I'll have your cat meow at you more than it does already.
Good luck. Good luck.
I think this is an interesting question because, I'm not trying to sound judgmental, but are you an MSP?
Yeah, well, but also though a little bit to their point is in the MSP, it's kind of like like a cycle, right? You have your clients and hopefully they're long-term partners. And again, if you're doing what you're doing a good job of being a proactive MSP, you onboard, you have your projects, you have your preventative maintenance, you get them on the life cycle changes. So over time, you do a lot of the preventative stuff. And now you're looking to see where you can improve the efficiencies and the maturity and continue on. But, eventually you do, again, doing the right thing as an MSP, fix a lot of that. Now there's always going to be things that come up. I mean, computers that don't work, etc. But there's a lot of preventative stuff we can do. So you do that for your client, okay? You do it for this client, this client, this client. But then eventually, one off onboards. You're doing the same thing to that client. You're onboarding the new. So the cycle never, really as long as you continue to onboard more clients, you're just going back to this is, a mess and we get to do all of our cool onboarding and preventative stuff. But
I think you're being
that's why we have jobs, right?
I don't think this person's talking about that. I think they're literally not handling things proactively. I think you're being generous. And I'm not saying that to shit on them because I think this is actually the misnomer that most MSPs have, right? You start off, maybe you're one, maybe you're three, you're small, and everybody does everything. So the thing that's the most important and most on fire is what you deal with. But at some point around the 8 to 10 person mark, you really have to start separating out into, well, you actually just take care of, this is the standard of how we want things things done. You don't do help desk tickets. You actually focus on making sure the environment is as best as possible, that there's ways for people to reset their own passwords, or that we're addressing licensing. You start bringing in account managers. This is a maturity thing that comes with it. And I don't think it's reflective of the MSP or IT space as a whole. I think it's all dependent on how the person who's at the helm is focused on being able to be actually proactive and plan for proactivity, because it will not happen by accident. It comes through processes.
How much is MSPs accepting shitty practices from their vendors, though? Also,
how would you compare this to being shitty practices of vendors? I'm curious about that one.
If, as a vendor, if my software is hard to do a password reset, hard to use, hard to follow, hard to, like, if it's not designed in a way that makes it easy for the end client to use it, and the MSP resets or things like that, like, right? How do we need to be holding our vendors more accountable for making the software easier to use? And I asked the question a little bit. There was a very humorous video that I came across my feed the other day about the Inshitifier, and I'll put the YouTube link into the chat here in a little bit, but it was really about, like, the Inshitification of all the things that is going on right now. And we're seeing the pace of Inshitification increasing because of AI. Right? I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but the number of new versions, AI is helping software vendors move a lot faster, which is in some ways a really good thing, and in some ways a really bad thing, because I think the quality processes are going away. And so I'm seeing much more frequent updates. And part of those much more frequent updates is because update 3.6.1 broke 3.6.0, and so it added a new feature or something cool that's new, but it did it in a way that broke the previous version. And so now they have to do 3.6.2 immediately afterwards, and then 3.6.4 immediately afterwards, because they're constantly introducing bugs and making their products harder to use as a part of this process, right? And so we need to be accountable for making it. Maybe I'm.
No, I think you're not wrong. I think that this person, though, is talking specifically, and Josh, you could tell me if you agree or not, but this is something where you will see in an MSP, and I know that it's a different thing, but usually it's a Microsoft or like a domain password reset. And this really just comes down to users and how they're utilizing things. So there could be many different solves that you could do. But like when you see a password reset, that's usually what you're resetting.
Well, I think to Jared's point, though, is it does become a thing with the operational maturity of the MSP, and at some point looking at the tool stack and choosing a different tool, because it might be the right fit for you and your company now, but as you grow and as you start to make the processes, the tool that you might have been using to get to that point then doesn't flow, right? Like a great example, there's a tool that we use that I switched to it. I loved it. I've been an evangel I've preached its name many times, and it's still great. But the way we're going, there is a potential other tool that has more connections and aligns more with what we're trying to do in our solutions, right? So it's just kind of how you have to grow. So if there is that friction, if there is like hey, this is annoying, if this is like, it's not letting us do what we want it to do, then, I mean, that's another thing that you would have to look at and improve upon.
Yeah, I'm never going to say don't hold your vendors to account. I don't disagree with that part. I just hear this as a maturity issue that they're discussing. This feels very much like, this is the hand I've been dealt, and I think it's shit, and I don't know what to do about it. But the answer is that we can always reshuffle, right? Like, you can get a different set of cards, and there's more control, even as and just go back to what you said, because this was an employee that was talking, right? And I feel like you have these situations where employees feel like they have no agency or they can't speak up. But actually, as a boss, the people who speak up, the ones who, are willing to say something and try to make the company better, those are the people I'm always more interested in, right? So I think
well, that's because you're a good boss, though.
Well, I mean, but I think that's important. Then go work for a good boss. I don't know. Like, maybe people will be better bosses if people just left working them, but I don't know.
So I will 100% plus one that, Amanda. When I look for engineers, when I'm hiring software developers, it's the same thing, right? I don't want somebody who's just going to follow orders and say, oh, I got this Jared ticket, I'm going to go and implement that exactly the way it's written, because that makes crappy software, right? I want somebody who's going to look at it and say, oh, you know what, the product manager has some really good ideas here, but actually, if I change this a little bit, I can actually produce a better output, and is open to conversations, and not just open to those conversations, but actually pushes those conversations and says, hey, what if, and proposes alternate solutions, and has like that thoughtfulness is what produces good software.
Yeah, I think that's why the diversity in your team is important, because you always get the best outcomes. You'll hear the most widest range of things when you have diversity.
Yep.
So, well, let's say you don't have a good boss, such as, you know, Amanda or Jared, or I'll throw myself in that mix, right? You're an employee and you're trying to make this, and the boss is just, hey, shut up and implement the Jira ticket, or we don't want to do that, right? So let's get into our next story here. You know, maybe not the case for this person, but this is a tech that wants to start their own MSP without torching their relationship. So he works for an MSP in City A, and he was recently moved to a new city in the same state to accommodate a large client. While he's here, he's been able to snag a few break-fix contracts for myself, and I've noticed a big gap in the market for MSPs that aren't a clown show. I'm starting the process of spinning up my own MSP, as my dream has always been a business owner. However, I know my current employer also had ambitions in expanding in this city as well. My current CEO is a man I have great respect and admiration for, and I'd hate to torch a relationship. However, I don't see a world where I start my own practice and we remain friends. Is there any way I can start my own without making current leadership a sworn enemy, or should I full on send the ruthlessness? I am not considering leaving my current MSP due to any friction with leadership. I've just seen an opportunity arise. So not quite. This person's, not at odds with their boss, but it's an interesting conundrum. What should we tell this guy? Amanda, you're an owner, so how would you handle this if this was one of your employees?
Well, I first of all, I always think that this is an interesting conversation. A large portion of what I'm trying to do this year with the roadshow specifically is to talk about the KPIs, the business metrics that people need to know to run an MSP. And I think realistically, this person thinks that they can run it, but I don't know that they know. And I understand that they want to run their own business, but I think that they're actually looking a gift horse in the mouth in this situation, in my opinion. Why would they not go to their owner and talk to them about setting up a second location and getting a piece of the pie? I just don't know why they couldn't say, I really want to do this. I want to run my own business, but I don't want to do it and torch this relationship. I value your input. What if I started this new venture? I took on this aspect of risk, and you lent your referrals for whatever your systems. You multiplied because we all get better pricing at volume, right? Like, to me, the lack of understanding that this could be an option shows me that there's already some greenness when it comes to running a business. So I'm really curious about that. I'm not criticizing them, but I am curious. But that would actually be the way I would suggest them to go. I think a lot of times we have this thing, like if we share with our boss, if you were already saying in the comment that you're ready to go full ruthless, then why not go and face them and be an adult and say, hey, this is what I'm looking to do. Do you want in on it? Can we do this together? And if they laugh at you and then whatever, then you're already in the same place that you're going to be if you full sent anyway.
Yep.
I love that framing, Amanda, because I can tell you, having started my own business 2.5 years ago for the first time, it's not all sunshine and roses. We all look at it and say, and part of my rationale when I started the company was, and when Mike and I started was, I'm tired of working for bozos. I worked for some really frustrating people to work for in my career, and it's some interesting people, and I learned a lot along the way, both good and bad. I saw some really excellent ways of running a business, and saw some really less excellent ways of running a business. And I also very naively thought it was going to be a lot easier than it was when I started the business. And then I hit go, and there was, oh crap, there's a whole bunch of stuff that I didn't think about. And Mike and I are not sales or marketing people, and guess what? If you can't sell your software, if you can't sell your services, you're not going to have a business, right? You have to find ways of doing things that you don't know how to do. And so
if you don't have a balanced budget.
If you know this much, that's great, but the business is this much. And so I love that framing of, can I create the satellite location, and instead of it being MSPX, it's now MSPXY, right? And I become a partner, even if it's a limited partner. It gives me an opportunity to learn and grow. So I love that framing. The other thing that I will say is, at least as a software vendor, I love competition. Competition is what helps me become better. And so anybody who's out there who wants to compete with me, please, by all means, set up your shingle. I will happily get on a phone with you and talk you through some of the challenges that I face. Like, I would love to see more competition in this space. I mean, there's already 30 other vendors, but please, by all means, come on in, because competition pushes me to be better, right? Competition forces me to think about my pricing model, forces me to think about my product roadmap, forces me to think about innovation in a way that I just can't get anywhere else. It also helps me build the market, right? If we look at being an MSP as a zero-sum game where the only way that I win is if you lose, then we're looking at this the wrong way. The reality is there is 6 million, according to SBA, there are 6 million small businesses in America alone, right? There's no way that MSPs are servicing all of those small businesses today. And so there is a huge pie out there that is still completely untapped. Now, how do we sell into that? How do we service that? You have to find your niche and figure out what works for you. But like, it is not a zero-sum game that in order for Josh to win, Amanda has to lose, and vice versa. The two MSPs can exist in the same town. Like, right, there's plenty of room for all of us to be successful. And so finding ways to, if your boss laughs at you, great, go start your own thing. I wish you the best of luck.
I just want to say something really quick to your one stat that you shared, Jared. Do you want to know something scary? To the maturity comment, okay? How many businesses did you say again in America?
The SBA says 6 million.
78% of those businesses are under 10 people. Most of the frameworks out there within the MSP space tell people that they need to be going after clients that are 10 or 20 or more. Who the hell is servicing those 74% of the businesses, right? And it is people who have these, for lack of a better word, because I don't like it, is trunk slammers, whatever. So like, the sooner that we can share with the entirety of the ecosystem, even if it's somebody who's doing hourly service, how to be better, how to be proactive, how to be all these things, even on the smaller scale, what to be paying attention to and how the journey looks like to get there, without necessarily sacrificing the smaller clients. If we consider the ecosystem and how people churn through it, I think we'll all be better for it, and the business will be more secure for it as well.
Yeah, I will just add to that some of those businesses with less than 10 employees are even the ones that are trying to do the right thing. I will, without naming names, a friend of mine came to me and said, hey, I had an employee's laptop got stolen a couple weeks ago, and I said, oh, well, like, let's look at your MDM and we can just disable access and remote wipe it. As we got into their MDM, they didn't have an MSP, they didn't have any sort of in-house IT. The fact that they had an MDM at all was incredible to me, but more power to them. But they had not configured their MDM correctly. And so they could hit the remote wipe on it, but they were not able to confirm that the laptop had full disk encryption on it. They were not able to confirm that there was any sort of session lock. That there was a whole bunch of things that were just missing in that because they didn't have the in-house IT or the in-house expertise to be able to configure their MDM properly. And so, to your point, Amanda, there are a huge number of small businesses that desperately need IT help. Even when they are trying to do the right thing, they're doing it wrong because there's only so much that AI can tell them or Google can tell them about how to set things up the right way, because they don't know how to ask the right questions. It's the same reason why when I look at code and I can see, hey, 90% of this is right, the AI, the Claude code produced, awesome, I can fix the last 10%. But I won't have it generate a contract for me because I don't have the legal background to look at a contract and say, here's the 10% that's wrong. Or marketing copy, I don't have the marketing background to say the marketing copy is wrong in these places, right? I need that expertise to be able to do that. And when you have somebody who is even well-intentioned in that small business space that is reliant on AI or Google or whatever else, calling their friend, they're going to make mistakes, and that's going to put them at risk. So there's a huge greenfield opportunity for MSPs to go into those smaller businesses and just make a killing.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. The only thing I want to echo before we wrap up here is to Amanda's point too, is you have somebody, if your boss has already been a good mentor and somebody who's willing to do that, I mean, that would be the route that I personally would take, as well as seeing if he's willing to show you the other side of like, okay, cool, now you're in charge and now you're having to do the finance, the more of the back office work rather than just the tech work, because that's a lot of what you don't see as an employee. I mean, I've brought it up and I'll continue to bring it up hundreds of times. I'm so thankful for my restaurant management experience, because that is where I learned all of that. And it's been extremely invaluable, and honestly more beneficial than if I would have had 3.5 more years in a tech role. So get that experience before, jumping off. But I do have to wrap up here. So we can kind of cover real quick conferences and stuff coming up. I think I'm not sure if Jared will be there, but Amanda and I will be at the GTI CCF next week in Chicago. So you will be there. All right. All three of us will be there. So if you're going to be there, come find us. Zero Trust World is ongoing right now in Orlando. So again, CCF will be next week. If you are across the pond, IT Nation Connect in Europe is happening the same time. And then at the end of the month, ASCII Edge in Dallas. One last plug again for me, please check out the new show, The Other Side. Next episode is 2 Wednesdays from now. So, be the March 18th, it looks like. So, Amanda will be on, and we're going to have a lot of fun. So, Jared and Amanda, anything that you guys would like to plug?
I'm just doing the Lunch and Learn at Chicago. So if you're able to sign up last minute, please let me know.
I'm just looking forward to seeing you both next week.
Sounds good. All right. Well, due to the conference, we will not have MSP Community Live next week, but we will see you in 2 Fridays. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in, and have a great weekend.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks so much. See you guys.
This has been a broadcast of the MSP Media